Good morning, everybody, and thanks for joining us today. Hey, we're really excited to dig into what I feel is one of the most important things of any project or program, and that's change management, or specifically organizational change management. Over my 22 years in technology and consulting, I've seen many companies acquire new technologies, you know, putting a new flag on top of the hill and expecting everyone to run to it. But often there's not enough change management done with their teams to create an organized flow to that flag and teach those folks what's in it for them so that they go there willingly and excited. Without OCM, many never even realize the value they could have achieved from their investment. Today, we'll dig into why it's important, what are the best practices, and how do you focus on the right things while avoiding the pitfalls. With me today is Ed Finero. Ed, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Ed Finaro. I have over 35 years of experience working as a Big Four management consultant, and I've delivered literally over 100 projects, mostly complex global transformational projects, and most or all have an OCM work stream leading to value realization achievement throughout the program life cycle.
That's great. Thanks, Ed. And really fortunate to have your experience with us here at Paradigm. So thanks for all your support. Chris Gately here, Chief Revenue Officer at Paradigm. Been fortunate to work with hundreds of the Fortune 100 folks out there, assisting them not only in acquiring cutting edge technology, but in adopting those investments and driving organizational change worldwide. My favorite quote, and that is, the only thing that is constant is change. It's also a mantra we could all live by, right? Ed, your experience with change is far and wide. Tell me, what have you seen in the industry, and what's the need and impact of OCM?
Yeah, I mean it's critical, as you said, Chris, to the success. Several years ago, we found ourselves re-implementing a lot of CRM Salesforce initiatives. And after analyzing the market opportunities, we discovered that 70% of all initial implementations had failed. And there were three main reasons why they failed. The first one was they failed to solve the right business problem. The second was failure to demonstrate a strong business case or ROI model. And the third, really the majority of the failures, were based on the lack of enabling the high adoption rate and user satisfaction. So, OCM will solve two of those three problems.
Wow, that's a pretty incredible percentage of failure rate, 70%. That's unbelievable. But hey, speaking of change, the pandemic has had a huge impact on change, right? Changing the way we do almost everything, especially even, our meetings, which are mostly via Zoom or webinars now. Ed, what does the post-pandemic world look like when it comes to digital and change management?
Yeah, in the post-pandemic world, there's a lot of pent-up demand for digital transformation initiatives. There's lots of money, being spent out in the market. I speak to C-level executives almost every day, and all of them are either in the middle of a digital transformation initiative or they're about to start one. I think it's really important that we restate that in order to achieve success, it's not just screwing in a piece of software. You must also re-engineer the business processes to take advantage of the software. And you must also align the organization to absorb the change and drive adoption. It's only when the people, process, and technology are aligned that benefit realization can be achieved.
Now, really good point. Kind of the key thing I took away from that is that whole screwing in the software, right? And that you must re-engineer business processes and a variety of other things. It's a really good point, Ed. If I look at our own business, a large equipment manufacturer that we work with recently, we're helping them implement some software. And a big piece of that now is helping them with the change management across the organization and then extending that worldwide to help with their e-commerce. So super, super important if you really want to get the results you're looking for. I know change is hard, and that example I just gave is a great example of it. Maybe you could dig into, why is it hard? What are some of the things around that we need to think about as we're trying to make those changes?
Sure, Chris. Change is hard, and it's for a variety of reasons. Sometimes we have to do things that we just don't like doing, right? So my son is a former Army Ranger, and they have a motto that I've come to follow as well. And forgive the expression, but it's embrace the suck, which is to consciously accept or appreciate something that is extremely unpleasant, but unavoidable. And it's for the greater good. Some of the reasons, as we dig in, as to why change is difficult. First, just about everyone is working remotely, so it's more difficult to communicate and align. Second is most initiatives are performed globally, meaning there's different cultures, there's different time zones, different languages sometimes. And third, you must appeal to a multi-generational workforce comprised of baby boomers, X generation, millennials, and now the Z generation. And as each of those generations, they're motivated differently. So you have to get to each of them specifically to motivate them to get them to do what you're asking them to do.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I love the way your son put it with the Rangers, embrace the suck, right? Because it's not easy to change. Nobody really wants to change. And it takes getting outside yourself to embrace the change and really help drive for the overall organization. I know Paradigm's been involved in many large projects, where change management has been pivotal, such as, morphing three large airlines into one, standardizing the view of a customer at a too big to fail bank. Ed, what's Paradigm's approach, and how do you guys go after it?
Yeah, as we move to the next slide. Yep, thank you. Um, yeah, it all starts with a focus around value realization, right? We must bring to life the business case and the ROI model. We must ensure that value continues to be realized throughout the program lifecycle, even after the solution has been delivered or deployed. All ongoing decisions must be based and are made with value realization in mind. So that's first and foremost. Secondarily, stakeholder engagement. We must establish awareness and set expectations with the stakeholders. We have to prepare employees as to what they could expect ahead, and we have to solicit their support as well. The next is cultural change, which are interventions to create a change-ready culture that aligns both the hard factors as KPIs, metrics, and processes, as well as the soft factors, which are mindset and business practices and behaviors. Those are the things that will allow us to sustain change. The next is organizational enablement. We must identify new business models. We must align the organization structures and roles. And then thirdly, develop new skills and capacity. Next one is transformation planning. We must create a transformational plan and roadmap that we identify any potential gaps in the organization in the form of change readiness. And then lastly, we have to create change agents, champions, if you will, to affect the change. We develop clear vision and case for the change. And we must establish change agent network, change governance strategy as well. So these are all the things that we recommend and that we'll come in and do and help our clients in order to have a successful project with regard to the OCM workstream.
That's great, Ed. The value realization that, and as we refer to that oftentimes in our own terminology, which is power of paradigm, really, it's really hard to achieve. And managing through those hard and soft goals, you really can't assume anything. So really good points. And it's a great approach, right? I've seen it be very effective from everybody from manufacturing and financial services clients to energy and utility clients. But how does one get there?
Yeah. So we have a roadmap strategy, if you will, and this roadmap is really comprised of four major components, and there are deliverables associated with each of those components. Those components are align and set up, identify change impacts, enable and execute, and then lastly, evaluate and iterate. Sometimes we refer to this as rinse and repeat affectionately, right? So starting with align and setup, the primary deliverable is an actionable playbook that we would help our clients and actually document. I'm not going to mention each of these bullets that we have listed here, but I would like to highlight a best practice or two. For instance, one best practice is for IT and business alignment. We suggest a strategy called two in a box. So instead of having one individual making a decision, we recommend that you have representation from both IT and business, and two in a box where they share in the decision making and the guidance in terms of cross representation from both IT and business. The next one, super important, is what's in it for me, and we must ensure that by role or by responsibility that we identify and communicate what's in it for each team member. Super important in terms of driving motivation. The next is identify the change impacts. The primary deliverable is a personalized training and communication plan. So for each training and upskilling plan, we want to make it relevant to each job function. So what I recommend is let's take the top three learnings for each particular role, and let's outline them. And then enable and execute, right? Deliver. The deliverable is a communication web page, right? A best practice is let's put a web page up each for all of the stakeholders to review in a self-service type of a format. This will allow for real-time updates, status, and as well as individual training execution plans, and they could go at their own pace whenever they need to, whenever they have a question. And of course, we must continue to evaluate and make adjustments, based on what's working and what's not working.
Yeah, the key themes I just took away are really were that with them, right? What's in it for me? The communicate, communicate, communicate. You can never communicate enough. In fact, 80% of all problems is communications, or is, and then making sure you have a call to action. That web page is a great example, and I've seen that be effective so many times for helping with that self-service and bringing everybody on the same page, right? What are some of the key themes to success that we should be thinking about as we're executing on OCM?
Yeah, so there's lots of lessons learned or best practices that should be deployed for successful OCM engagement. As you can see on the screen, again, I'd like to, highlight, in my opinion, three most important success factors. Number one is communicate effectively, and also communicate often. So effectively and often. Inform the various stakeholders as to the reasons for the change. Why are we doing this? The benefits of successful change, which, as you mentioned, what's in it for us or for you. And then other details, if you think of it as the when, the where, and the who, those are all contributing factors to effective communication. The next one I want to highlight is countering resistance effectively. What we've done and recommended is creating a small database with both anticipated resistance or questions and ongoing resistance as they occur. And we share this with our change agents. And this is really to tamp down any concerns that they may have or that may arise as you're executing the engagement. and to do it proactively, to take kind of the best answers and document them for all to communicate. The third would be to communicate and celebrate small wins. I'd like to give an example. We recently did an AI machine learning project for a $13 million insurance company. We set up a series of short-term goals. A 30-day goal was understanding 50% of the documents that we put through the AI system. And this was accomplished by using, synthetic data, what we refer to as synthetic data. Then we set a 90-day goal to understand 80% of the documents. And this was accomplished by using machine learning. And then we set a 6-month goal using human intervention, and that got us to 100%. We achieved, so we achieved all of these ahead of schedule, and we celebrated accordingly, which is just terrific.
Excellent. Hey, that's a great example, Ed. And the thing that really kind of hit me on that on those goals and those keys to success was that response to resistance, being proactive with that database, with a sort of a wiki to continue to monitor and fine tune to really get to everybody's needs. As Churchill said, success is never final and failure is never fatal, right? It's the courage to continue and learn. What are some of the challenges and the things that you've learned that people should be careful of out there when they're out there doing this?
Yeah, so like before, I'm going to highlight 3 potential pitfalls, based on what I've seen in my career. The first one is getting the wrong sponsor. Often what occurs is a sponsor's named, and it's really based on the highest ranking executive that you could find, usually from the C-suite. Sometimes these executives are not the most passionate about a particular initiative. So we suggest that, passion will trump seniority, and that you must find a sponsor that is senior enough, but also that's passionate enough to lead and sponsor this initiative. It's critical. The second is lack of shared commitment and leadership. Discourage finger pointing, which sometimes occurs, or playing the blame game. You have to adopt a one for all and an all for one attitude and culture, as we're all in this together. And lastly, don't spend time analyzing the people and their styles involved with regard to your change agents, but rather focus on how effective they are and give them creative liberty to do what they need to do to get the job done. It's really measuring them, based on the result.
Those are really good points, Ed. And that one point you said, which is counterintuitive, right? We always want to give the C-level the responsibility of driving the program, but if you can find the right person who has the passion and can really, has the stake in the game, it's going to make it so much more important for them and for the organization. It could be pivotal for them to take a new role in the organization and show their capabilities. So that's a really great point and relatively counterintuitive. We've had a number of core themes from today. Obviously, organizational change management is important, and you need to embrace the suck or embrace disruption, right? Learn to adopt, learn to change, and drive that forward. You need to unlearn the old, right? Unlearn what you've learned so that you can clear the way and clear the runway so that you can now learn new things and also drive towards, again, help the organization drive towards that flag on the hill that they've made the investment in, and get the entire organization behind. And then when you're doing that, go look for the folks that are being impacted and focus in on what's in it for them. Provide them with the wiki to talk through why people may be against it or what challenges you're seeing. Have a web page to get everybody on the same page. There's a lot of really great best practices here. and we've really hit quite a few of them. Nicola, are there any other questions out there from the group?
Yes, the first one I have is what happens when you get someone on a team that doesn't want to do what you've asked them in this process?
Yes, always difficult and a challenge. What I've done in the past is provide individual counseling sessions to try and understand why, what is their challenge? Why are they not maybe performing up to expectation? And try to work with them, over a short period of time. But, there is an occasion where they just may not be the right person to be an effective change agent or to do what you're asking them to do. And in that case, you have to make a tough decision and replace them with someone, who can get the job done. The initiative usually is too important, not to have people who are going to get the job done. So that's typically what I've seen.
Thanks, Ed. I'm going to throw one more at you.
Okay.
What barriers of OCM adoption have you seen with digital transformation initiatives?
Yeah. Good question. And I think one of them is, sometimes we do train the trainer or we do generic training programs. And I think what's critical is that you have to do specific training that's tied to a particular person's job function. So, sometimes we call that persona-based training, but it has to be personalized to that role. So, if your job function is manufacturing, you want to show them the important aspects to them getting their job done in terms of training. They may not care about, the marketing aspects of the training or the sales aspects of the training, and vice versa. If it's a salesperson, you want to show them the specific training that's important for them to meet their challenges on a daily basis. So I think by doing that, you're going to overcome some potential barriers that could crop up down the road.
Excellent. Thanks, Ed. Nicola, any more questions?
Nope,
No?
that covers it for today.
Awesome, thanks. Hey, let's talk about a little bit how Paradigm can help. We've got a lot of we've done a lot of OCM work, not only standalone but also as part of other engagements that we worked with. So where we can help you is, to start with, is the Modern Cloud Champion Assessment, really helping you identify where are you in your OCM of the cloud, right? And how do you create the right champions in the organization to drive that forward? So it's a great example of one of the key offerings that we have. Ed, what do you think about the OCM maturity analysis?
Yeah, so we actually have a maturity model or index, and we can compare and contrast your current state OCM program against our repository of leading practices. And often by closing that gap, we can drive additional ROI to your program. And we're happy to come in and talk to you about how we could do that. The next one is Business Impact Workshop, which is really kind of the business case or ROI model. And, we can review your business justification for future planned projects. And based on our years of experience and our business models that we've already created, we could often suggest improvements. And sometimes a little improvement is enough to carry it over the finish line. And again, we're happy to come in and talk to you about any of those.
Great. Hey, Nicola, it looks like we have another question.
Yes, can you please dig into how a client or Paradigm can measure the effectiveness of an OCM project?
Well, I would say first and foremost is, coming in on time, on budget, everyone supporting, and really the end result is in the value realization part of it. So you have a business case, and you have metrics that you're trying to hit. And if you can hit those metrics in the time allotted and have everybody be happy, satisfied, and trained, that's great OCM success, is what I would say.
No, that's a really good point, Ted. Especially, if you look at the KPIs that we use in our programs for OCM, it's all of those items. And how do you first capture the baseline of that, and then how do you keep track of that through the project so that you're measuring not only the KPIs that drive the outcomes you're expecting, but also did you attain the vision, whether that's increasing your e-commerce sales, whether it's helping do cross-sell, upsell, but tying that back to those KPIs for the program themselves to have it effective. And that's where, things like our OCM maturity analysis and business impact workshop really come in handy, right?
Yeah, there might be one more to sneak in there, which is attrition rate. Oftentimes when we do something like this, we might be redeploying resources to other critical areas of the business. And generally that's a very favorable thing. But we always want to monitor the attrition rate as we go through program change, because we don't want people to leave the organization.
That's a really good point. You want to make sure that these are effective, and it's effective enough that they're maintaining and keeping people in the organization and keeping them excited about what they do, right?
Right.
Has a big impact on folks.
Right.
Well, great. Well, folks, thanks for your time today. Thanks for your interest. As we said, we're really excited about what we've been able to do to help so many companies, adopt and embrace change and take their investments to the next level. Hope that we have the opportunity to do that with you as well. We thank you again for your time. We're grateful for that, and make it a great week. Thanks, Ed. Great stuff. Thank you,
Thanks, everyone.